Hello and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. So it's Championship Monday on Monday Night Raw, and Championship Monday was just another 3-hour filler-heavy commercial fest that was fueled by terrible creative writing and just absolute laziness on the part of two old men who have their head so far stuck in the past they couldn't see the future of professional wrestling if it punched them dead in the face. And we are going to talk about all of that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review and reaction show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
If you wanted some kind of evidence to point to show you just how out of touch Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard are at putting forth wrestling products, then you need to look no further than tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. Or should we call it Monday Night Flair? Since every 10 minutes at every absolute possible moment they could, they had to shove Charlotte Flair in your eyeballs or your earballs at some point on this evening. That being said, let's just take a look at some of the main programs of this evening, which revolved around the likes of Dolph Ziggler and The Big Show. Who wants this for Monday Night Raw? How is this going to lead us into the future? Paul Heyman was not doing a great job with Monday Night Raw. He was going in some weird directions, and we were not enjoying the show any more under his leadership than we are now. But you can't tell me that you would rather see The Big Show and Dolph Ziggler over guys like Aleister Black in prominent roles on television, over guys like a Buddy Murphy or an Ali, or some of the guys that have just been forgotten about over the last couple of weeks, and the youth is being just pushed away. And instead of getting progression forward, we're getting sucked backwards into 2013, which was the last time we seen Randy Orton versus The Big Show, which coincidentally was at an Extreme Rules pay-per-view. They're so lazy they either don't remember that they did this already, or they know they did this already and are just going to follow the same path. Only we're going to insert Edge and Christian and everything that has been going on to make that the motivation for The Big Show. Then the fans will get behind The Big Show. The Big Show was a good guy one week, a bad guy the next week. This has been going on with him for the entirety of his career, and we're supposed to give a crap about it right now. I don't care. How do you expect us to stay invested in the hottest angle in professional wrestling, or at least in the WWE? You got the Randy Orton and Edge thing being consistently the very best thing you got going on your show, and because Edge is out injured, you think the proper substitution is The Big Show, because Randy Orton has dubbed himself the Legend Killer again. The Big Show's a legend in the industry, so Randy Orton's gonna target. I don't care. I could care so little about a Randy Orton Big Show feud. I care about as much about that as I do about Dolph Ziggler. Coming out of obscurity, jumping ship from SmackDown to Raw, he was traded to Raw for AJ Styles, which obviously SmackDown won out on that deal. Even though Bobby Roode was included, SmackDown definitely came out aces. Raw got the shit end of the stick. They get Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode in this trade. Robert Roode's still nowhere to be found. Good to hear that he's at least alive somewhere and that he's, still on the minds of people in the WWE. But the fact remains, Dolph Ziggler shows up and demands a title match, because instead of saying, "It could have been me, it should have been me," wah, wah, crying baby all the way to the bank, he's coming out here saying, "Oh, Drew McIntyre, you're the champion because of me. You did it because of me, because I put you here," and blah, blah, blah. Same verse, same as the first. Second verse, same as the first. Same shit over and over. Oh, because of me. You got here because of me. So now I want a championship match. I want a championship match. Drew McIntyre looks at Dolph Ziggler, calls him an entitled jackass, and then says, you know what? I'm going to give you your title match. We could do it at Extreme Rules. Let's make it official. On top of it all before the show goes off the air tonight. Dolph Ziggler, this same Dolph Ziggler that has been on SmackDown and has been looking up at the lights for the greater part of the year. A guy that's been playing second fiddle to an angle in the women's division featuring Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. A guy that couldn't beat Otis. He's being gifted a WWE Championship matchup, and this makes sense because... You could fill in the blank for me because I don't have a reason for you. You could throw it in the comments below. They did this with Dolph Ziggler because... We all know the real reason. Because they are inept at coming up with anything good. Aleister Black is sitting there being placed in an angle where he sticks out like a sore thumb. Aleister Black has this very dark, this very creepy demeanor, this very lone wolf kind of image. He rises up from the smoke. Why is he the babyface helping Rey Mysterio? Running out to help little giant baby man son Dominic and Tiny Dad. What does he have to do with any of this? Because he was involved with Seth Rollins? So now all of a sudden he's a spokesperson for Family Mysterio? And then there's Dr. Dimples, because, Humberto Carrillo's got to be involved, because, he's the only other Latino on the roster that they're going to have involved in this thing. And what is it all for? What is it all for when you could have Aleister Black being built up to take on a Drew McIntyre? That's a great match you should be building up towards. But instead you got Black just languishing in the mid-card, doing nothing, fighting with Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Man Bun, and his bunch of dick disciples. It doesn't make sense to me. It's a waste of everything that you have. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of talent. And it all stems right from the top. These guys are so stuck in their own ways. And they're so afraid to take chances. And they truly believe bringing people like The Big Show on and bringing people like Dolph Ziggler back is going to be what Raw needs. And then I see people on social media as I'm live tweeting during the show, praising the show. Oh, Raw feels great. This has been one of the best Raws that I've seen in weeks. What are you drinking tonight? Because please let the world know so that we could all ingest it as well every Monday night and we could feel how you feel about this trash heap that you call a wrestling show. Which was very minimal on the wrestling, very heavy on the bullshit, but mostly heavy on the nonsensical filler, the replays and the recaps and the packages of the same shit over and over. How many times tonight did we see Nia Jax beat up Charlotte Flair? That's a whole nother can of worms. Let's get right into that. Nia Jax comes out, tries to hijack Monday Night Raw. I'm going to sit in this ring until I get whatever the hell it is that she wants. She's pissed off that Charlotte Flair's getting a championship opportunity, even though she just had 2 opportunities and did not manage to capture the women's championship and wrestle it away from Asuka. So now here's Nia Jax, one of Vince McMahon's 2 favorites, one of the 2 family lineage females that are being pushed to the top of the card, probably based off of just that. And you got Nia sitting in there, and it becomes an even bigger waste of time because she gets interrupted by R-Truth. And he wants to defend the, hey, look at me, I'm a clown, I don't give a shit, 24/7, 7-Eleven, 365, gold-plated, avocado-colored championship belt. And he thinks Nia Jax is Akira Tozawa in disguise. Because, he's a ninja, and ninjas are known for their ability to be masters of disguise. This was a huge waste of time. A huge waste of time. And then the ninjas come out, and then there's chaos, and then Charlotte Flair ends up coming out. and Charlotte Flair's confronted Nia Jax. And here these two girls are literally bickering and picking at one another for doing the exact same thing. Nia Jax is like, oh, well, you're only where you are because of your daddy. And then Charlotte Flair's like, well, you have famous family too, and you're only where you're at because of your family. Let's talk about family. And then there's a brawl. And then Nia Jax injures Charlotte Flair's arm, which just opens the window for the rest of the night to be as predictable as apple pie on a Thanksgiving feast. Okay? You know that Charlotte Flair's now not going to beat Asuka tonight. Asuka's finally going to get one over on the Queen. But there's an excuse. There's an excuse put in place because, Charlotte wasn't 100%. She wouldn't have tapped out to the Asuka lock tonight had she not been injured by Nia Jax. And I'm calling bullshit on this whole entire thing. Why is it necessary to have all of this going on when by the end of the night, you're going to have Sasha Banks call out Asuka, effectively removing both of those women from title contention, I guess? Or are we going to end up still seeing Charlotte versus Nia Jax versus Asuka in a triple threat? Or are they just moving Charlotte to Nia Jax and Vince McMahon can, just jizz all over himself because he's going to watch his two favorite females in the ring at the same time? I don't know what the motivation is, but I'm pretty sure it's something along the lines of that. It's nothing any of us want to see. Everything was just a huge waste of time, and it was only put in place to give an excuse for Charlotte for when she would lose later on in the evening. We all lost this evening when we got the Tag Team Championship match between the Viking Raider, Warrior Raider, Warrior Raiders, and the Street Profit Warrior Raider, Warrior, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't even get it out because it's just that ridiculous. Here we have had to sit through weeks of these four guys acting like a bunch of clowns, filming all these ridiculous segments, not to blow it off with some epic 30-minute tag team war between two teams that now have respect for each other because of all of the jackassery that they have been put through the last few weeks, and they're now like brothers and they're doing this in the spirit of competition. That's the story they were trying to tell, but instead we got this really campy, really comedy bullshit stuff that led to nothing but a 6-minute tag team match where the Viking Raiders, the former War Raiders, one of NXT's most dominant tag team champions, as War Machine on the Independents, were one of the most feared and vicious tag teams in the world, losing to the Street Profits in under 10 minutes in an underwhelming match that the best part about it was Montez Ford's ridiculously beautiful frog splash. I have not seen a frog splash that nice since Eddie Guerrero. And that's a hell of a compliment I could pay to Montez Ford. That was, when I seen that frog splash launched and the way he hit it, you knew it was the end of the match. You felt bad for the Viking Raider, Warrior Raiders, because they're going back to catering right now. And the WWE just failed them, but my God, what a beautiful way to end such a shitty match. It was ridiculous. They were doing cartwheels in unison. All four of them stood in the ring and stopped to do a cartwheel. How that translates to trying to win a wrestling match, I will never know. It wasn't using a cartwheel to defend against some sort of a running move. They just all stood there and decided to all cartwheel, like we're watching some sort of Bring It On competition, cheerleading. No, bro, this is a tag team championship matchup. What are you cartwheeling around each other for? Nothing about this tag team division has been taken seriously for as long as I can remember. And tonight is just more of that continued nonsense. The best thing we could hope for is that it truly does end this Viking Raider, Warrior Raiders versus Street Profits nonsense. They wanted to say that they're like the Avengers, and now they're this foursome. They're this faction of bros of some sort. I don't know. They're fist bumping. They're showing respect at the end of the match. I was hoping and praying at any moment that the Viking Raiders were going to snap and just beat the snot out of the Street Profits, and then we can get on with a proper feud between these two. But no, that's not the case. The Viking Raiders are done. They're done. How do you come back from this? You've been a couple of jerks doing all these ridiculous routines for weeks, and now you come up short in your opportunity to win the Tag Team Championship in such an underwhelming fashion that they didn't even come out looking good. How does this help? How does this help anybody? It doesn't. It doesn't. And it hurts us as the fans most of all, because we have to watch this trash. We had a promo from Seth Rollins after this. He wants to tell Rey Mysterio, legends never die, but they sure do outlive their welcome. So this is all Rey Mysterio's fault. All the same yada yada we've been hearing from Seth Rollins. The target is still firmly planted on Rey Mysterio. And later on tonight, Seth Rollins is going to confront Rey Mysterio because Rey Mysterio is going to be here. And they're going to put it in the main event segment, even though it should have probably opened the show instead of that waste of time with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. We had to take a look back at the Charlotte Flair Nia Jax brawl again, only to go backstage and see Charlotte again. Charlotte's in an interview with Charlie Caruso. She wants to tell Charlie she's okay, but, you know, her arm is clearly messed up. She's got the kinesio tape in there. And then Charlie moves away from Charlotte and goes to see Zelina Vega and her sexy boys, the Vega Boys. And they had a quick little interview where Charlie gets to flirt with what's-his-name, Garza. Zelina Vega doesn't like all of this. And she wants to tell everybody that, listen, the Vega Boys are on the same page, and we're going to be okay. Don't worry about all the drama you've been seeing the last couple of weeks. Fine. We then move on to the Asuka versus Charlotte match for the Raw Women's Championship, where Charlotte sold the arm injury throughout the entirety of the match because you knew that was going to be the story. She did a decent job telling this story. This was actually a good match. I think Charlotte and Asuka have great chemistry, and they did a very good job telling this matchup, the story in this matchup. But Asuka retains the championship. Charlotte Flair taps out thanks to the previous injury, and that was that. I was glad to see that Asuka got a win for once, but having her still be able to say, well, you know, you didn't really beat me because I wasn't 100% is just a very Vince McMahon thing to do so that Charlotte Flair stays protected even when putting over the Raw Women's Champion. One of the best moments on the night featured Edge in his fiery, passionate promo telling Randy Orton that he has awoken the evil within him. He has awoken the rated R superstar, and Randy Orton better get some sleep while he can. Edge was fantastic once again in this promo, talking about how he couldn't hold his children on Father's Day, and now that's on Randy Orton. That Randy Orton is celebrating the fact that he has beaten Edge. He's taken it all to a whole nother level, and Edge would never do that because Edge expects to beat Randy Orton. He wouldn't be making such a big deal about such a simple victory. He thinks he's the greatest wrestler ever because he won a match called the greatest match ever, but now Edge isn't worried about wrestling a wrestling match. He's coming to hurt Randy Orton. And I loved every single bit of this. The Ultimate Opportunist is going to come back and tear Randy Orton apart. And we're going to go from that crazy WrestleMania street fight to the legit wrestling match to I don't know what. It's going to be maybe a Hell in a Cell or something to up the ante. Maybe just some sort of a backlot brawl. Or maybe they'll follow the footsteps of like the Boneyard match and do something cool that way. I don't know, but I'm interested. When Edge comes back, it's going to be fantastic. This guy is just next level with his microphone skills and his promo skills, and it sends chills down your spine. They immediately cut from Edge's promo to Randy Orton, who was in the back. Obviously, we are made to think Randy just heard everything that Edge had to say. And all Randy really had to say was, when you corner a snake, when you back a snake into a corner, it strikes back. It strikes wildly and it strikes blindly. And that's exactly what Randy Orton did to Edge. It's what he is going to continue to do to Edge in the future. The more he corners him, the more he will strike, and he will strike and be more deadly each time. And he says he wishes Edge and Christian the best, and that he hopes they will live long and happy lives, and that they will be able to do this as long as they do so far away from Randy Orton. This is just some of the best stuff ever, and if you think this is being written by Vince and Bruce, you're out of your mind. These are two pros that know what they're doing, know where they're going. They might have some sort of an outline or somewhere that they know they need to go, but they get there on their own, and they get you guys invested, and it's great. This was good stuff. More of this. It's just a shame that they've kind of ruined it by doing so much. You know, and we've had 2 matches in the series already, and now Edge is going to be out, which helps lengthen the space of time, and it's going to lead to the anticipation. But as good as the promos have been, the matches haven't as much, lived up to the hype, for lack of a better term. More Charlotte, because Nia Jax attacked her backstage once again, trying to get the upper hand on her, doing further damage to the arm that she injured earlier in the evening by putting it in a dumpster or a hamper or some kind of laundry bin and then slamming the lid down on top of it. Charlotte here forgot how to act, and she did a terrible job selling it. She did a better job selling the arm injury during the match than she did after she had it smashed in a thing. It was just like she was sitting there just like, ow. I don't know. And maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention. It just didn't come off as good to me as some of her previous stuff. But there you go. More Charlotte all night long, and it won't be the end of it either. We had Tozawa and the Ninjas, who came out for their match with R-Truth. They got obliterated by Bobby Lashley, who came out there seeking revenge on R-Truth for messing up his chances at becoming the world champion last week. Lashley assaults everybody and walks away. The only person that was unscathed in this attack was Akira Tozawa, who sneakily popped up from ringside and then dove in to pin R-Truth and is now the new 24/7, I don't give a crap, gold-plated, avocado-colored, look at me, I'm a clown champion. I still don't care. They now put it around the waist of Akira Tozawa just 2 weeks after they racially stereotyped him as a ninja and gave him a gang of ninjas. And I hate it. I hate every single thing about it. We go to the back for an update on the condition of, guess who? You guessed it, Charlotte. Sarah Schreiber was in the back, in front of the medical trainer's room, waiting for word on Charlotte, when she was interrupted by Natty. Oh, great. This is going to get good real quick. Natty's pissed off that Sarah Schreiber's worried about Charlotte Flair when she should have came to her and said, hey, Natty, let me do an interview with you, because apparently Natty's got some huge announcement. She's got a scoop to sell to all of us. And you know what she gave us? She gave us 2 big fat scoops of a red-hot flaming poop hammer. And this comes in the form of not just the fact that she beat Liv Morgan again in an underwhelming match in less than 5 minutes, burying Liv Morgan once again, but her big announcement, I guess, was that Lana is her new manager. I guess they bonded last week after they had the losers meeting in the back, and they both were feeling a little less than fresh in their careers and feeling used and abused by their managers and partners and compatriots and disrespected. And now they're going to band together. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, if you take 2 bad acts on their own and squish them together into one act, that's not going to make them good. You can't take an orange and an onion and smash them together and expect it to be delicious. It's just not going to work. And, you might like onions and you might like oranges, but you're not going to like them together. In this case, we don't really care for either of the fruits involved in this equation, so smashing them together is only going to make mishmash pie even worse. Laddie, yeah, that's what we can call them. We'll call them Laddie. The team of Laddie, Lana, and Natty, united for some strange reason, and Liv Morgan suffers for it. Now, it's important to mention that Liv Morgan was a Paul Heyman girl. It was a Paul Heyman project, and he was very high on pushing Liv Morgan for obvious reasons, probably. And Liv continues to be booked like an unimportant afterthought ever since the removal of Paul Heyman from creative position. I don't know if this is being strategically done, but they really, really failed Liv Morgan. They disbanded the Riot Squad. They built up Liv Morgan. She's going to come back and be some new, different Liv. And there's been none of that. Absolutely none of that. So we're all supposed to forget about the Lana Liv lesbian storyline. Tonight, Lana helps Natty beat Liv for no reason whatsoever. There's this new unification. And instead of building a new talent and having Liv beat Natty, and elevate Liv Morgan's career, having her beat, the long-time WWE veteran, making her look like somewhat of a threat, even though Lana was out there to try to help, you would have put Liv Morgan over, you would have put her on the map a little bit and made people take notice. But instead, you gave the win to the veteran in true Vince McMahon style, because, Natty needs to be put over. Especially now that we're giving her Lana, because we can't have enough blondes on TV tonight. Sacrificing the future to elevate someone from the past. Even Lana has been around for so long and is so out of place without Rusev. They don't know what to do with her. They're going to stick her with Natty. And I see people like, oh, this is good. I like seeing this. Well, then, you must hate your eyes. Because I don't know how you could see this as something enjoyable. This is going to be some more cringe TV coming at us. Vince and Bruce are going to keep writing this soap opera bullshit and focusing stuff on these two. And I can never figure out, I will never ever understand how they can write shit for Nia Jax, they can write shit for Natty and for Liv and for Lana, but they can't write something for Shayna Baszler. They can't write anything for Kairi Sane. They can't do anything interesting with Asuka, but they want to do all this stuff with all these other women that nobody gives a shit about. They don't want to push Bianca Belair. You brought her to Monday Night Raw to be there for 2 weeks, and now she's been gone. The WWE's women division needs Bianca Belair. They need more women besides the same 6 we keep getting shoved down our throats show after show, week after week, and it's starting to even include Sasha and Bayley. As much as I love me some Sasha Banks, and as much as I enjoy Bayley from time to time, talk about overexposure. I would be a hypocrite if I condemn the WWE for how they use Charlotte and then sit here and cheered how they use the Boston connection. They don't need to be on every single show. And tonight was another example of that. They showed up tonight to have a match with the Iconics, which was less than iconic. It was just your standard Iconics match, which means it wasn't very good. Peyton Royce has a lot of potential. She pulls off some good stuff. But Sasha Banks wrapped her up with the bank statement at the end, very beautifully, may I add, and she got the win for her team. And then the WWE wants to throw the false tease in there. After the match, Sasha turns to Bayley. She's like, listen, your Bayley Doe straps makes me all jealous. I think I want a shot at the championship. So at Extreme Rules, I want to challenge Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. And while I appreciate an Asuka versus Sasha Banks match, this certainly isn't the way to go about it. I'm terrified that they're going to put the Raw Women's Championship on Sasha Banks, because the only viable reason for that, which I know they will never do, the best thing they could do in that scenario is then have Sasha versus Bayley, champion versus champion, title for title in a unification matchup. That will be just fine. But do you expect them to do that? Do you think they're going to unify the women's title the way they should? I don't think so. So what does this mean? They're going to do that anyway, and then what, break up Sasha and Bayley after they lose the tag belts? I don't know. It's going to kind of confuse things. Or the more logical way, or the more Vince way to go about this, probably means we're going to see Bayley somehow screw up Sasha's opportunity at winning the Raw Women's title, which will maybe be the spark that finally escalates the feud between these two that we've been waiting more than a year for. Or maybe WWE is just going to scrap it once again and keep them besties for life. At this point, I could care less. Another good thing on this show, and it's weird to say, and maybe I'm starting to develop Vince McMahon brain, but I enjoyed the VIP lounge on this episode of Monday Night Raw. MVP, like I have said for weeks, and I said weeks before he even started managing, I mentioned that he would be great in the managerial role. He has not disappointed me, except when he gets in the ring. I didn't want to see him in the ring. He doesn't need to be wrestling, but he needs to be doing things like he did tonight. Having the VIP lounge, offering the olive branch to Apollo Crews, telling him how he could help him be one of the greatest United States champions of all time, bringing the fact that he himself, MVP, was the United States champion for 383 days, that he could make Apollo Crews great. And then they did what I was kind of afraid they were going to do, and they had Apollo refuse and, say, I got here on my own. I'm going to stay here on my own. Thanks, I appreciate your offer, but I'm going to just be me. And I kind of knew they were going to do that. I didn't expect Apollo to just hug MVP and join his little faction that he's got going on, if it's a faction at all. But then they just kind of ruin it by giving us Shelton Benjamin versus Apollo Crews again. For the second week in a row, Shelton Benjamin loses to Apollo Crews, so he's just being used as a glorified jobber at this point. He's not truly been affiliated with MVP so much. I think maybe we're going to see that a little bit more coming out of this week. But I was hoping for the big faction. I really was. I was hoping that Apollo would have taken MVP seriously and joined the group. And then you could have had Bobby Lashley going for the heavyweight title. You have Apollo Crews with the United States Championship. Shelton Benjamin can come aboard. Maybe he could have got Shorty G from SmackDown. Turn him back to Chad Gable, and they could be Gable and Benjamin. And then he could join MVP too. And then we could have a great little stable of guys there, led by MVP. You could call them the VIPs. I don't care. I thought it would be great. But instead, Apollo's staying the babyface route. He's going to go against MVP's faction, which will do just as much in elevating him if they do it right. And I see what they're doing. We're going to get MVP versus Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. And I assume that the time will be up for Apollo Crews, as they're going to give the title most likely to Lashley. Especially having MVP in his corner gives him a lot of heat, gives him a lot of momentum, and I'm all for it. I think it's just fine. I really think it's just fine. I thought that, though, having the same match 2 weeks in a row with the same result, even though they beat down Apollo Crews after the match, just didn't really play out to me as original or interesting. Just we're just going to go with what we got last week, and that's going to be just fine, I guess. I don't know. But this was interesting, and it should be maybe at least one reason for you to want to tune into Monday Night Raw. Maybe, I don't know, it could turn into something really great. It could also turn into a pile of shit, and we may end up having to dole out another big old fat poop hammer to guys like Bobby Lashley an MVP in Apollo in the future. But hopefully that is not the case. The final segment of the night seen Rey Mysterio come to the ring with less than 10 minutes left to talk about everything going on with him and Seth Rollins. He had Dominic out there, told Dominic, you scared the hell out of me being out here by yourself last week, and I didn't feel any better when I found out where you were. And Dominic managed to get himself out of the situation, and Rey was proud of him, but I was angry. He was also angry. Dominic's mom was worried, started doing all this family stuff. Rey was really pissed about what Seth Rollins did to him, obviously. He said Dominic may be bigger than him, but he's still his father, which I thought was a great line, being that, we always tease them with the giant baby son and the tiny dad. I mean, these guys know the deal. They're not stupid. I mean, come on. I thought it was just fun. I don't know. It made me laugh. That's just me. Dominic will always be his child, no matter how big, no matter how strong he gets. Rey then would go on to say Dominic fought for him, so now Rey is going to fight for Dominic. He wanted to get revenge on Seth Rollins, but he wants to do it himself. Dominic does not want to hear this. He understands, but he's not going anywhere. Seth Rollins, this is what a family looks like, and this family wants a fight. Some pretty strong words from Dominic Mysterio. And then Rollins came out, and then everything just kind of blew up. The Disciples came out. They were trying to put they were trying to put Dominic Mysterio's eye through the steps like they did to Rey Mysterio. At one point, it was in the other way around, and they were trying to get Seth Rollins as Aleister Black and Dr. Dimples and Humberto Carrillo came out, and they overwhelmed the Monday Night Man Bun, and they tried to take an eye for an eye and put his eye through the steps the way he did to Mysterio. Then we would see it almost happen to Dominic, but he would be saved by Aleister Black, and that would just be the end of Monday Night Raw. It was just this kind of brawl between these 6 guys plus Dominic, and now I'm starting to see a story on the wall that I don't want to see, which means at Extreme Rules we're going to have a 6-man tag. That's what I see in our future. We're going to see Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, and Dr. Dimples Carrillo versus the Monday Night Man Bun and his Disciples. And that is just not the way I wanted to see this go. Dominic will probably be on the outside. Maybe that's the night we'll see Dominic make some sort of a turn on his dad. They definitely teased it tonight with some of the camera angles and the body positioning going on during the segment. Dominic was placed behind Rey Mysterio in such a fashion that many times I was expecting him to deliver a lariat to the back of his old man's head. But I don't know if that's really the way they're going to go with it. And if they are going to do it now, certainly was not the time. But at the pay-per-view, that might be when they pull the trigger. And if Dominic is in the corner of his dad's team or ends up being a special referee of some sort, I fully expect to see this take a whole nother turn in a completely different direction. And whether or not that happens remains to be seen. This still continues to be a decent segment. It's where all their brain power is going, I think, because it's coming off very well. They're finally doing something with Seth Rollins that has my interest piqued, and he's not just boring the snot out of me. We call him the Monday Night Man Bun with the Disciples, and we're just doing that to be funny, of course, but, it's okay. It's actually okay. But that doesn't mean the rest of the show was okay, because the rest of the show was just a damn nightmare. You can't tell me that a good VIP lounge, a good promo by Edge, and then a good segment at the end of the show is enough to constitute this Raw being a must-see or being triumphant or will return to form for Monday Night Raw. Hell no. We might have had the return of a lot of old and familiar faces, but it's definitely not a return to glory. Not in my words. You might think that this was a better episode, and you may be right. This may have been a better episode for most people on the average to watch, considering some of the other shit we've been shown over the last couple of weeks. But Dolph and Big Show being put in huge storylines, in Ziggler's case, a title match, and Big Show just being put in there to derail one of the most interesting stories they got going, definitely gets a negative. Definitely gets thumbs downs and definitely gets poop hammers. It's so bad it deserves it for a third time on this show. But other than that, we don't really have much to look forward to right now going into Extreme Rules. We got a bullshit heavyweight championship match. We're going to have Asuka versus Sasha Banks, maybe. Going to be the best match on that card at this point. But what's going to happen there? Who knows? That remains to be seen. But that was your episode of Monday Night Raw for tonight. Championship Monday, where only one title changed hands, and it's the one title nobody gave a shit about. So who cares about Championship Monday? You didn't. I know I didn't. But at least we all came here to talk about it together. Thank you guys, as always, for being with me here on the channel. If you have missed my PlayStation 5 list of top 10 games coming to the new next-gen system, that'll be linked in the annotations up above. Go check it out. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it was a lot of fun. I think you guys, especially if you're PlayStation guys and gals, you should check it out. You're going to enjoy it, and let me know what you think about it when you do. If you enjoyed this episode of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, now would be the time to smash that thumbs up and let me know that you had a good time here today. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know everything that went wrong with tonight's Monday Night Raw. But most importantly, if you are not already a Sledgehead and part of the coolest, newest faction of wrestling fans taking over the YouTube wrestling community one sub at a time, then it's time for you to hit that subscribe button right now and hit the notification so that you don't miss a thing, because Sledgehammer TV is diversifying. We're covering gaming. We're going to get back into doing some movies and TV. We're going to spread the love on this channel because wrestling sucks so much. And this is a television station. This is Sledgehammer TV, and we don't have to just focus on wrestling. I can give you my opinions on literally everything. So it'll be an opinion channel, not just a wrestling station anymore, because to be quite honest, I'm getting tired of singing the same old song and dance to you guys, and it'll be interesting to bring my opinions to you about other things. All right, so let me know about some of the other things maybe you would like to hear by dropping that in the comments section down below. It is hot as balls in this room. If you haven't seen the shininess on my face, it's not just my wrestling soul trying to escape in liquid form. It's actual sweat, because it is humid as fuck in New York City right now. And Raw definitely gets my blood pressure boiling, which doesn't make it easier to stay cool when I'm here talking to you guys. Who the hell am I? If you don't know that by now, you're crazy. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. That is going to do it, and we are out of here. And we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Bye.